I'm Coach Dave. Welcome back to Coach's Corner.
Come on.
It's done here. Okay, welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Dave McDonough. Today's guest is a gentleman, Dr. Eric Schmidt, out of Hat City Physical Therapy. A little background on Dr. Schmidt is they have been helping us in our fighters, also with the Danbury Hat Tricks, but anybody at a Champs Boxing, himself and Dr. Lee have been a big, integral part of rehabbing our athletes and anything, with physical therapy, and including myself, which was an outstanding help. So, welcome, Eric. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come down here, and it's great to have you here today.
I appreciate the invite. I was really looking forward to this and being able to talk about, myself, the office, and what we can do for the community and, kind of our presence out there.
Yeah. So, we talked in the office, obviously, not only helping myself, but a lot of our athletes in the rehab and preventive maintenance of the body. But how about a little background on yourself and how did you end up in this field?
So I've been a practicing therapist since 2008. I finished my graduate degree at Long Island University and did all my clinical affiliations down in the city, some of the best medical centers on planet Earth, down at Cornell and Roosevelt Hospital. Prior to that, I did my undergraduate in exercise science and human performance science at Adelphi, where we had high-level triathletes, Ironman-level triathletes. Yeah. We did strength and conditioning, the aerobic strength and conditioning for the Islanders, for the New York Jets, all their metabolic testing and whatnot. So, when you're talking about those guys, you're talking about the best of the best, and it was truly an amazing learning experience, and you can take that with you throughout the rest of your career. So, starting my career in like a performance versus a rehabilitative role, I think helps to integrate the way that the athlete is treated in the rehabilitation setting, because they have much, much different demands than does the guy doing my taxes.
No, exactly, right? Like, we athletes in, different shapes, different sizes, different, So,
the mentality.
But we're seeing this, like you started at that end and now are here in Danbury. We're seeing this performance, and I want to say rehab, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, as becoming a very big part of athletics, not only at the professional level now, at every level right now.
At every level, yeah. So our office sees not just high-level athletes, but the youngest patient I've ever had was 3 weeks old here in Danbury. And it was a little boy had torticollis, which is a spasm in the muscle in the neck, and the head kind of gets stuck. So you go from treating a 3-week-old, and we had some 90-year-olds out there. And then at the same time, we had a couple of hat tricks players. So we literally had the entire spectrum of human, right? So you have, infant to professional athlete all in one building all at the same time, with a group of clinicians that have the capabilities to wear multiple different hats.
How do you adapt to that? Because, when you're working with athletes, you can kind of pretty much structure, I have a hockey player coming in today, I got a basketball player, this injury or this rehab, but you have a wide spectrum right now.
Yeah.
You go from
even the fighters, seeing, some of the fighters over from Champs, and we now have a client of ours over who fights out of Glover's.
Right.
She's a world champion.
Who you have, Alex's sister?
Eleni Pereira, She's quite a fighter. So now that we're starting to see, combat sports coming into the office too, that's a whole nother ball game. That's very different than, the ball athlete or the hockey player. So how do we wear those different hats? Is, each one of us kind of has a specialty area that we like to see. I'm predominantly an upper extremity therapist, but also we'll do some lower extremity injuries as well. I have a colleague of mine, Rob, who's a phenomenal spinal therapist. And then I have Lee and Karen that have been around a very long time, so you know them. Mm-hmm. And, they treat top to bottom, old to young, professional athlete to to
everyday person walking out
to an
there.
everyday person working
Yeah.
out. And if you add up our experience, there's 100 years of experience in my office.
So we're seeing today, right, at the professional level, at the everyday level, at the working class level, this is becoming more and more intricate to lifestyle.
It is.
Everybody is, where years ago people weren't working out as much, people weren't playing sports as much. You see people, older gentlemen and women who are more active now in sports, whether it's running, some sort of activity, golf, tennis, pickleball, whatever you want to they're doing right now. How do you keep up with the trend of what you let me reframe this. What are you seeing the most right now coming through with athletes?
Well, a lot of what we do, believe it or not, as silly as this sounds, is a seasonal business. A lot of what we do is like selling ice cream cones. You sell more ice cream cones in the summertime than you do in the winter, and maybe during the winter you're selling hamburgers, right? So this time of the year we have like the hockey kids coming in, hockey leagues, and we always have the combat sports guys, whether they're boxers or they're MMA fighters or they're kickboxers or whatever. In the spring you have I haven't got off the couch all summer, all winter long,
Right.
And they're coming out and playing weekend softball, they're playing tennis, they're playing pickleball. I could tell you pickleball has been I think I've seen more pickleball injuries than I have contact sports
talk about
injuries.
that. I was at a gym yesterday in Milford Fighting Arts Academy, Nick Newell's gym, who I do a lot of work for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the facility they have a pickleball. Now there were more cars there, and it's a huge facility, so the sport is definitely taking off.
It's enormously popular. And it could be a lot of fun for folks, to play, especially I found like a lot of tennis players that don't move around as well.
Yeah.
They go into pickleball, or people that just, looking for a hobby that's athletic. The problem is I think they grossly underestimate the demands of the sport. Now, to play anything at a competitive level, you do have to have a degree of conditioning, a degree of, muscular preparation before you get out there. But the problem is, at least in my experience, the vast majority of people that are playing are, I haven't done anything in 25 years. So let's go out there, and I'm going to use my high school football player mentality to go out there and play like it's the U.S. Open, and they're blowing Achilles and quad ruptures and, very serious injuries.
Well, when, it's like driving that car that's been sitting in the garage for a long time, right?
Car needs a tune-up.
Yeah, well, it needs more than a tune-up, right? All of a sudden it's like the mind thinks we can do it, but the body can't. And I think, from my own experience.
I'm the same way, Dave.
From my own experience, look, I still think I could do certain things, but I am leery about, after having an injury that you guys treated, my back and my shoulder, my back and my knees are I'm cognizant of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm as certain movements, if I'm not stretching or I don't want to have that torn ACL. I don't want to blow an Achilles. I don't want to blow my back out.
Rupture quad herniated disc.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So with all that being said, I think the athletes are a little more versed for the educational part of it, but the everyday people, it happens to them and they say, "Oh man, here I am."
Right. Well, and we have to take that into consideration when the patient or client comes into the office. We do need to have a little bit of background on the sport. What the demands are of a hockey player. Where the forces are generated, how they push. Are they a quad pusher? Do they do more hammies? Do they what's their posture like on the ice? What type of stick? Are they lefty? Are they righty? Do they play offense or defense? How their hip flips are. So there's so many different, you need the nuances within the sport. And I think it helps by having, clinicians that have done on the athletic level, a multitude of different activities, whether it's weekend warriors or whatever. You still kind of have a little bit of a kinesthetic awareness.
Yeah, what that person is doing out there, what their body is required. And then obviously, what other injuries have these people have had.
And the demands for the sport itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these hockey players, they need explosion and they need to handle an extreme amount of force at a maximum level. When they're out there, there's no like coasting. Football players, it's 100 or it's nothing.
But now we'll talk at the professional level for you, right? With this, you have to get these athletes ready.
There's no choice.
Yeah, well, there is. It's not a choice. As they're coming into you, right? Because they need to be back out playing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
how is that to really like? I mean, you're under the microscope at that point.
For sure. You know what? To me, Dave, to be absolutely honest with you, is no different than me treating a plumber who needs to get back to feeding his family.
Yeah.
It's just a different level. You know, you have a hockey player that's trying to get, for our hockey players here in Danbury, maybe they're trying to get noticed for an ECHL team or a different league. It's the same as, you know, myself or you or Joe somebody. Hey, I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
I can't have a lame shoulder. I can't have a lame back. For me, it's very similar. I don't see that as there's very much of a difference. To be absolutely honest with you, the athlete in a lot of ways is easier to treat. They have a drive and a mentality that's just this that you can't measure it. It's I'm gonna fight or I'm gonna die trying to fight.
Yeah,
there's no quit. You know, I think that's the most unique quality between an athlete, a high level athlete, and a regular folk like myself.
Yeah,
and that drive is just
the drive is there. They're looking to, and you know, a lot of the guys you're treating right now are people trying to go to the next level in their sports.
The level of intensity that they have.
So they're look, they're gonna buy into what you say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an old school guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I go to the doctor. Doctor says you got the flu. I got the flu. I'm not Googling and saying 20 other things.
You don't use Dr. Google, huh?
I'm not questioning your professionalism, right? The same thing. To go to school, teacher says your son or daughter's not doing what they're supposed to do. Okay, you're the teacher. I'm not going to question your authority or try to undermine you. I'm going to say, okay, handle it.
Right.
Like that. How hard is it now with these athletes to build a relationship?
I think
of trust?
that's on an individual. I think some yes, some no. It definitely helps the more I'm around them.
Yeah.
The more I'm with the team, the more they see me, the more success stories I have with other teammates. You know, first when we took over, you know, you see one guy come in, and then maybe a couple of weeks later you see two or three come in, and then all of a sudden the bus lets off and you have half the team in your office like, hey, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, and we got to play in 6 hours. What can you do for me? Yeah. So that's kind of the natural progression of things is they have to build a trust in you. And you know what? A lot of these players are transient. You know, we have them for a year and then they're gone.
They're gone.
Or we have them for 2. I mean, we have some guys obviously have been on the team for quite some time, but
majority of them are in and out.
In and out. So you kind of have to start that trust process all over again. And that's what my relationship with AJ and Herm over at the hockey team, it's important.
Yeah, but once you
because they trust those guys.
Yeah, but once you gain like anything else, you know. You gain, whether it's an athlete, a client, you gain that trust. You do something that's productive, that they feel, you know, they can see a change.
Right.
Now you got the key to the city.
In a lot of ways, that's
you got the key to the city because now, you got Johnny ready. I need to get ready. How can you help me? I got something similar to what's going on with him.
True, and that's almost, you know, I like that point is that's a very challenging situation is when someone says, I got I have what this guy's got, or I got what this guy's got, or my cousin had this. In reality, you may have some similar symptomology, but the nuances in the diagnosis or the issue that's at hand could be vastly different. You know, body size, age, your genetic ability. You know, that's when you go to these athletes, they're different.
Yeah,
they have a different gene pool than
previous injuries.
So everyone is an individual. You know, I can't say that I'm going to sit here and be like, you know, well, I treated this player who had an ACL tear last year the same way as I'm treating this guy. The position they play on the field makes a huge difference. You know, what happened? Their feet are different size, or in different orientations. They may have had a back injury. They have balance issues. There are a multitude of factors. Every single person is completely individual. Yes, we might share some underlying similarities, but the differences between you and I, even though we're both human beings, is, you know, the distance from here to the sun.
Yeah, there could be, you know, we see a lot of places like your facility popping up all over the place.
We have a lot of competition in town.
Yeah. What do you think makes you guys different? And what is your mantra to be different? I mean, I know what it is, but, you know, I mean,
I'd like to say I have the best staff. I know every employer would ever say that.
Well, you are a team. You really, like what you're saying, you are a team.
We really are a team, and it's not just myself. It's the aides that help us.
Yeah.
It's the front office staff that makes sure the client gets what they need. But on a clinical level, what makes us different, and this is it upsets me as a healthcare provider to say something like this, is we listen. Sometimes you have to listen to the patient. Now, we've all been to the doc, we've all been to rehab people, we've all been to someone that just, you come in the office and they're telling you. The first thing that you have to do is listen to the person in front of you. See what's important to them before you even try to figure out what's going on with them. Is use these. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Well, also, the consumer is more educated today.
That's good and bad.
It is, but you know what? Like years ago, again, like we were just talking about, you went to the doctor. I didn't know, man. As a kid, you were scared crap, right? Yeah. As an adult, you were like, you didn't want to go, right?
Yeah, now you're going to get a shot.
Now you hit ChatGPT, HealthGPT, you go on Google. Okay, you could have 40 different scenarios before I even see you.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
And that's got to be hard because I think, look, not everybody's a doctor.
Right.
So and I'm like you, like I don't know everything, but you know what? If you come in, you're right, you got to listen and you feel and shoot your shot and figure out like, okay, that's bullshit. This makes sense. What you're saying, but and then you figure out how to go from there. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be harder today on your aspect because of the information highway.
For myself, I would say no. I would say, believe it or not, I would say just the opposite. I have no problems answering questions. I have no problems. I love an informed consumer. I love people who ask good questions. That's them taking ownership into their, into the care. If I can't answer a patient's question, you should not be in my office, and nor should I be practicing. I should be prepared to answer that patient's question, even if that's a great point. Maybe that's something we need to investigate together. We shouldn't be one of those that's just blowing smoke up the patient. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a great situation that we do have ChatGPT, and not as much with Dr. Google. That'll lead you into some dark places. You come in with an ankle sprain, you think you have cancer. But ChatGPT, you can find some pretty good information on there, like scary good stuff. You can find explanations to conditions. I mean, I don't particularly mind if a patient says, oh, well, he said I have a slap tear. Okay, wait, and then they go home and then they try to do some research to what a slap tear really is. I think that's a benefit to my treatment, is that you can understand and you can conceptualize it when you're at home. Wow, okay, that's what he was talking about. That's what he means. This is what's going on inside my body. And then you can fill in the pieces to the puzzle that you had in the rehab session or in the doctor's visit. Okay, yeah, he said this. That must mean X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So with all of this going on now, when you isolate a client coming in with maybe an injury or a rehab of an injury and to recovery, how do you piece by piece get that?
Well, I'll refer back to what I said earlier. Well, number one, you have to listen. You have to describe how the injury occurred, if they remember. Sometimes they don't. If it's a high-impact ice hockey injury, a high-impact football injury, they'll come in and say, well, I got hit really hard or I hit the ground X, Y, and Z. And it's you learning how to answer the right questions. Hey, did you fall on this side? Did you twist when you went down? Did you hear a pop, snap, crack, something along those lines? Does it feel weak? Is it painful? Is it burning? Is it aching? Describing your symptomology and trying to pull as much detail out of the patient as you can.
Well, now you're almost like a second party because they've already went to a doctor.
Sometimes right? Not. Most of my hockey players know.
No.
Mm-mm. But I'll refer them out. Like if it's a
serious injury, something that you might have to.
Correct. So Connecticut state law allows us to see a patient 6 times without physician referral. Okay. New York state law is 12 visits. So if something isn't right, it's usually pretty glaring. And it's, I'll pick up my phone and say, hey, I have a shoulder doctor, I have a knee doctor, I have a hip doctor, I have a back doctor. Hey, let's go see this guy. I know it's not right. There's something here that's that might need some other further medical intervention. Let's get it to one of these guys that's going to help you, and then let's work all together, to get you back on the field or ice or a ring or whatever, what have you.
Mm. Part of the thing we see happening out there today, Eric, is recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your thoughts on that, and what is your position, and what do you talk to not only the everyday people but more athletes on recovery?
Oh, like as
Because
far as using the gadgets and the red light.
there's
and
so
the
much
steam.
stuff out there today. Everybody has, you have red light therapy. You have, what the vitamins should be taking. You got one doctor saying, more magnesium, more this.
Magnesium is a hot trend now.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone wants magnesium, but you have to be careful which type of magnesium you take. But that's another talk. But
Yeah.
For me, I like to keep things extremely simple. Does red light work? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a game changer for anybody. For me, it has to work better than the placebo. And I'm not so sure that it does. I'm not so sure that it doesn't. Could it work in an isolated setting? There's some decent literature that shows that the saunas work really, really well. They've been using it over in Eastern Europe and Finland for centuries. There's, in Asia, the needling and cupping, and there's very little evidence, like as far as like a peer-reviewed or a randomized control trial, if you could even do one, that it necessarily is an effective measure. But sometimes you just, like empirically, it kind of works. Sometimes just because you can't quantify it doesn't necessarily mean there isn't some sort of benefit to it. I think recovery for me is proper nutrition, it's proper hydration, it's proper rest, it's proper exercise, it's proper injury prevention as far as flexibility goes. It's proper time off in between training sessions. How you cycle your training. To use a periodized approach, you can't have your foot on the gas pedal 12 months a year.
The motor's going to blow up.
Right.
Eventually.
You need to have some times where your training is parabolic. Okay, this 6-week cycle, I'm going to blast it, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then then we're going to come down for a week or two, do some more, maybe if we're talking about weight training, maybe some gentler, maybe some cardio, some this and that, and then we're going to ramp back up again. There needs to be some time for the body to recoup. To recoup, yeah. And you see that all the great athletes, that's what they do.
But that being said, right, and you're 100% right?
Yeah.
Because you're not saying anything that people didn't say 100 years ago with athletes, right? Rest, everything is, moderation, right? But with the level of, I'm going to put this way, athletes, business people, it is high level. That rest thing, it's like, I need to be able to go every day as hard as I can every day.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes part of my job is like I can compare treating a very high level pro athlete to tying a racehorse to a pole with a 3-foot rope. They're bucking and they're ready to go. Mm-hmm. They're ready to go because mentally, I need to be on the field. This is how I make my living. This is how I'm going to make it. This is how I'm going to reach all my childhood dreams and goals. You're not doing that sitting at home watching TV doing leg compression devices. Right. You're out there and you need to play. That athlete mentality doesn't turn off.
Or they're already there, they've made it, and they have to stay at that
to level. Maintain it, because the guy coming up is pretty good too.
Or the guy coming up right. They're making a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is
maybe a little less than the other guy.
Whatever the case, either way, right?
Yeah.
But it's a cutthroat thing.
They're very extremely
right. You're looking at a cutthroat. So now we see your aspect of rehabbing, right? Rehabbing the athlete. Once you rehab him and you send him on his way and everything else, now the education of recovery is, I don't think it's a clear playing field out there because there's so many different people. We're seeing peptides, we're seeing different therapies out there. How does it work?
I think that's also with the level of the athlete. You have, top level pros spending $1 million a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in recovery. I'm a huge football fan and, unfortunately now a sad 49ers fan, and we're out. But our starting linebacker was sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber. to get his ankle ready to play after having a fracture and dislocation. I mean, these guys are different, and they have resources to buy a chamber for their house, whereas maybe I don't.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? I have a client that has a wellness center that has the chamber, and
It's amazing.
I have been in it, right? Not enough to really, I know you need more sessions, you need multiple sessions.
Correct.
But there is a lot of benefit to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of professional teams. I saw online a couple of weeks ago, the Florida Panthers have a unit. It looks like a train. It's in their logo, but it can hold
a bunch of guys, right?
2, 4, 6, 9 people.
It's amazing.
In chairs and everything.
Well, hyperbaric therapy has been used in medicine for forever, to heal wounds and help with the healing process. So I guess it's the next step is that athletes are like, well, if it can help this guy with an ulcer that won't close, it can help me with my surgical process, and probably does.
A lot of it too, head injuries for
the Joe Namath Institute uses it.
Concussions and everything else that we start to see. High altitude training. I have a trainer that has a high altitude room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the red blood cells
that you do your cardio and everything. But it's changing so much.
It is.
Now you are working every day, your team and everything else, but things changing. Medicine is changing. Rehab is changing over and
daily.
over. How do you stay up on it?
You have to read.
Yeah.
And you have to pay attention to what's going on around you in the world, not just what's going on in rehab, but what's going on outside. You have to keep what's going on in the sport. Athletes are bigger, faster, stronger now. And you're seeing levels of force in contact. I'm just going to use football as an example. The best, hopefully you're in agreement with me, but the best, most explosive athlete I have ever seen was Bo Jackson. I have never seen an athlete rival Bo Jackson. All-star baseball player, all-pro football player. Was he 230 pounds at 6'2", that could run like an Olympic sprinter?
Yeah, he could run, jump.
Now you have, not that there's anybody that may be Bo, but there's a lot more guys like that. And these guys are creating levels of force with impact that's factors of 10 higher than it used to be. So you have to understand that aspect of it. You have to understand the tools that we have, right? Whether it's scientific literature or, extra coursework you can take, you can, I know a lot of my colleagues have done extra dissection sessions to really understand the nuances of the attachment sites of the muscles and what they look like. And now that was a part of our initial training, but to make sure that you stay up on things. And even a lot of the time as we age, as in the clinical world, we kind of find our niche. Like, okay, I love upper extremity injuries, especially overhead throwers and punchers, I love combat sport athletes. And then you have people like, I'm going to do all my extra training in that, which requires extra coursework, extra reading, understanding scientific literature, even down to the cellular level. So you have a deeper level of appreciation for the injury and how you can relate that injury to the individual and the demands for the activity at hand. So we stay on top of things. I mean, my office is where we are always discussing new concepts, and what's beautiful is that we all come from different eras, different generations, different schools of thought, and different training. So it's nice to kind of have maybe a friendly disagreement with somebody about a training protocol or training theory or a how you believe something should be worked on. Maybe I should do some early mobility versus late. And that friendly banter, I think, leads to a greater level of understanding of the injury at hand. But you also need a good group of professionals to do that with.
You need that. We go back to the thing. You need a team level. You need, because look, and the same thing with coaching, right? We don't all know everything. I'm a big advocate of a team. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, in boxing, combat sports, people, years ago was what the head trainer said. His word was bond. That was it. Mm-hmm. Nobody had it. But for me, I want input from people, because look, I can't always see what's going on. Somebody else might see differently, have a better idea, build a better mousetrap, mm-hmm. have a different view of what's going on.
Right.
And just like you said, look, there's certain things I do well as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
There might be certain things that you do well. My job is to get that fighter ready or that athlete ready, whatever it takes to get him ready. So if that means I'm weak in one aspect of combat sports, then I have to bring somebody in to offset my
Tough.
weakness.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I can't be top heavy in one area in a fighter and he's weak and gets exposed in other areas. Especially in MMA now. MMA is a multi-faceted.
That's a whole other animal.
Okay, so you see that sport is like, okay, you need jiu-jitsu coaches, striking coaches, kicking coaches,
Grappling guys,
right? So everybody plays a part, but they all have to coincide and work together to build that fighter, because it can't be four people going in different directions. And yes, we can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, what is best for the fighter? What is best for the athlete?
You're
because
exactly
he don't care at
results.
Yeah.
Am I ready or not?
I'm here because I trust all of you. You guys better get it together because I want to win.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we go a different way. So I think that's what makes people successful, whether it's business, whether it's athletes. Yeah, we're all going to disagree. We're not all the same.
It's how you take those differences, mesh them together to form what's best for the athlete.
Yeah. So, what do you recommend now? You got people coming in, and what do you think is, if you're talking to people, you're seeing injuries, preventive, as we see people more active now, what is, and I know you're an active guy and you're out there and you're doing things, you talked about the rest and everything else, but there's a lot going on. We see more people with back injuries today.
All over,
what is the preventiveness for and we're living in a more active world. Look, 40 years
thank
old,
God, it's
you
a
got
good thing.
people out there, professional athletes still 40, 50 years old.
True.
You got people competing at 60, 70 years old out there in different sports, being more active than, my parents were, their parents were, and everything else. So, people want to keep going. How do we maintain that? What do you see medicine and what you do, rehab and preventiveness to keep people moving on the treadmill?
Well, I think for me, I'm not gonna point to any one modality because I don't think that there is one. If I had to pick the most important part of you being active and being healthy and preventing injury, there's two. Well, I'll give you two. What you put in your mouth and how strong you keep your body. Strong people that put good things into their mouth, eat well, hydrate well, are going to recover faster. The injury rates are lower. Keep in mind, our muscles and tendons are 80% water, right? So if we're dehydrated, you don't want dry, brittle tendons, right? So let's making sure that you're healthy inside as well as strong on the outside. There is reams and reams and reams of scientific evidence that shows, we look at length of life of an individual. The number one indicator for length of life is muscular strength. Strong people live longer. Like we all had the grandmother, the grandfather, the great aunt, whoever it is, that grew up plowing the fields.
Yeah,
that has a grip like a stonemason, but they're a 95-year-old lady, right?
So
but
society has changed now.
I think
we've
it
become
has.
a sedentary society. We have more people
Right.
working behind desks. People are working from home.
Right.
Those physical jobs are not.
And there is a level
We're
of
losing
fitness.
those physical jobs. Let's put
Right.
it that way.
There is a level of fitness to those jobs. You're going to go work a farm?
Well, you can work a farm. You're going to do construction
Some of the
work.
strongest people I've ever met were farmers. That farm boy strength is legit. It's a real thing.
Well, because look, you're up early in the morning, right?
7 days a week.
You're not stopping, right? Like, look, and the other thing is we have instant gratification today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go back to the food aspect of this, right? And the simpler times. Now you can get anything anytime you want.
Right. Single ingredient foods, full fat.
Whatever it is you want, right? You can have it ordered, sent in, whereas years ago you couldn't.
Right. And we'll use the farmer example again. They're probably eating what was on their farm, right? Single ingredient foods, real food, not something from a
Processed
bag.
food.
Right. And it's full fat milk, full fat butter, full fat meat. Maybe there's something to it,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. So you talk about the farm thing. My great-grandfather owned a dairy farm.
Right.
When he came from Italy. He lived to 95.
Yeah.
Okay. He smoked cigarettes for a while, a pipe. Didn't drink a lot, wine, but he worked He had his lunch, had a little bit of dinner, a little bit of and kept going.
But he was strong.
Yeah, it was pretty strong. It was pretty strong.
Yeah.
But one question with all this stuff out there, people out there, is there a fast track to maintaining? Is there a fountain of
Like a
youth?
shortcut.
Like a fountain of youth, a shortcut?
I don't think so. No, I don't think life is a shortcut. I think life is a long game. This is going to sound maybe a little...
But we see a lot of shortcuts in medicine lately.
Yeah, yes. But just because it's there doesn't mean it's the best choice.
Yeah.
Think about the way we start, right? So, unfortunately, the process of dying starts the day we're born, right? Our job from before the day we were born to the day that we die is to slow that process as much as we can. You can slow that by eating better. You can slow that by keeping yourself fit, keeping yourself strong, mentally, physically, all of that. That all plays a role, and it all comes together. So, Father Time wins all battles, right? So, it's what you do from start to finish that hopefully can stretch out that finish line a little bit. Obviously, there are other factors that, all else being equal. But there is no quick fix because hopefully life is not a quick thing. It's strength you need to do daily, right? Eating well, you should do all of the time. Strength, the same. Activity, the same. I've never met anybody who was too strong, too fit, ate too well. I don't think those things exist. So if we do a combination of all of those things, I really do think, it will speed up the healing process and helps you age, a little bit more effectively.
How does that culture change with the younger? You have a young son right now playing sports.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with different athletes from different ages. That culture is, quick fix. Everything is, putting the people who want to put in the work are far and few between than the people who are looking for instant gratification or a quick fix. How does that culture change?
I mean, as far as I think that has to come from the coaches, the parents, and how the parents, the coaches, and the kids communicate with each other. They should create realistic goal sets. They should, you don't take little Timmy and say, Timmy's going to pitch for the Yankees when he's older. Like, is he really? Is, mom and dad are 5 foot tall, 120 pounds each. Timmy's not pitching for the New York Yankees. We should have realistic expectations for our children as well.
I see it too, especially like with younger kids that are fighting right now as boxers, and they're like, it's good to see young kids out there, but they're just young kids. And the competitive level is like, for me, I don't agree too much that an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old should fight a lot. Should he have a taste of it? If he wants it, he can. And if he's prepared for it, he can.
Right.
Right? Like, not every kid's going to go play football.
No.
But if they're...
Not every kid's a contact kid.
Right. But if they're coached properly, right? Like, you hear no, I don't want my son or daughter to play football, and I got to include girls today because they're out there playing.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
So, but you know what? Football's been going on for how many years?
100 years, at least.
Right? Yeah. So, if the kids are prepared properly, why not? But I go back to the same thing. Everything's a pressure, especially when it comes to younger generation of kids. They're looking, whether it's a professional route, whether it's a collegiate route, whether I'm going to.
It's their ticket out. It's the kids' ticket out. And what I wish and what I try to educate parents is, the younger they are, the less specialized they should be. Like, I wouldn't take a 7-year-old and say, you know what, you're playing football, and when you're not playing football, you're going to be doing football drills with a special coach.
But
I love switching sports per season, exposing the kids to different things, different stresses to the body.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how I grew up, right?
Yeah.
You played baseball.
Most of us did.
Played baseball, right?
Summer you played baseball, fall you played football. Yeah.
Hockey, football, whatever it was, right? Some you played for your school, or you played rec.
Yeah.
Or you played on the playground.
Right. All day,
so
every
there
day.
was, And I think that's the other thing is as far as movements. Look, we're seeing injuries in kids, right? More so probably now and then I don't remember a kid ever growing up having an ACL injury when I was a kid. I mean,
I don't.
breaking a bone, yes. You fall down, break an ankle, an arm, stuff like that. Maybe in football you got hit, but I don't remember. Oh, Johnny
There's always a bone break.
had to have surgery on his ACL and his meniscus. And or labrums and hip injuries, shoulders, rotacuffs.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff that's happening now.
I would suspect. I mean, I don't think I can quantify my statement here, but I think that goes to too much specialization. It's the same stresses on the body over and over again. I would love, like, let's say I'm going to use I'll use boxing, right? So let's say I had a child who was a football offensive lineman. I'd love to get him in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Get to work on those hands, the feet, the body position, the balance. Wrestlers make good football players. We can use and take pieces from different sports, different training requirements to cut. Okay, well, maybe he is showing some more potential as a football player, but in the offseason, it might be a good thing to teach him footwork, hand-eye coordination. Like, that's going to translate. I mean, the Patriots signed a guy years ago who never played football in his life. Played first snap of football as a professional, offensive lineman. So to your point, I think that those injuries are from repetitive stress with the same requirements. I think we can curtail that with, letting the kids, one, be kids and play, and two, you're switching sports per season. I don't see any downside to that.
No.
And let them kind of find their own path and don't be the demanding parent. Don't be that person who's carrying on about your kid and he's got to throw an extra 100 pitches after practice and this and that. Let the coaches coach. Well, you be mom and dad.
Also, the thing is, right, some kids mature faster physically.
True.
Right?
Just a huge thing.
There's the false sense. I remember some kids, and my father used to tell me, they're either going to flatten out and you're going to catch up to them or surpass them. Some, right? Some of them, right? Some are just freaks and just boom. They are
great from day one.
They got great DNA wherever it came from, right? So, that's the false sense of as a young kid in athletics as far as, he's a phenom at 12, but he's 12. He's 12. 13.
He's in puberty a little bit earlier than the other kids.
Wait, I don't see, whatever the case here. I understand some sports, hockey, 15, 16-year-olds, there's a chance that they could progress that kid at 17. He could be a professional.
Yeah. True.
We're seeing it sometimes in baseball now, not as much. Now they put a cap on basketball and football now that you have to be a certain age before you can go to be a professional athlete. But I think the nature of the beast is if you keep doing something and you do it well and you do it over and over again, that you're going to see success.
It's what the 10,000-hour rule, right? You put in 10,000 hours worth of work and you'll be at your maximum, or the expert rule, whatever it's called.
So with that being said, from the medical side, you see it. You're seeing these injuries.
Yeah.
When does the body say enough is enough? Because at some point, right? Let's talk about shoulder injuries now, because you're working on that, and then you happen to work. So many athletes, right? Football players, baseball players, lacrosse. Every form of sport, they're using their shoulders somewhere along the line. It's incorporated. We're seeing more and more shoulder injuries. Listen, I remember, and I'll give you a little bit, and then I'll let you answer here. Being a kid playing as a baseball player, right? Mm-hmm. I remember there were times I couldn't even throw. Mm-hmm. Right, and I'll tell you off screen what we did, right, preventively, right. Mm-hmm. Like you did whatever you thought,
whatever you had to do to play.
Grandma had a recipe. Going
Everyone
over there,
had
man.
Some kind of
get me back out there, right? But now we're seeing more and more and more like seriousness. What is the preventiveness to that? And you said about that earlier about preventiveness, but when does the body say, okay, I've had enough and shut down? Enough. And why is it shutting down faster now?
Let's use baseball, right?
Seen more arm injuries and Tommy John surgeries than you ever saw.
I can't even.
Every kid's got a Tommy John surgery.
It makes my stomach turn when a 12-year-old's having a Tommy John. That is a big procedure. It's not a little deal. It's, an 18 months, a 2-year recovery.
As an adult, it's a big procedure. I can imagine as a kid, right?
It bothers me. I read. I'll answer your question, but I want to preface that with, I read an article that Greg Maddux, the great, for me, he was
to 88 miles an hour,
80 in a Hall of Famer, right? But nobody had better control than he did.
No.
There's no reason to throw curveballs and sliders and splinkers and sinkers and whatever, anything in between, if you can't put your fastball in the black, if you can't throw a 2-seam, a 4-seam, or change up. You got to change speed and have location. If I was a coach, which I'm not, so I'll stay in my lane, I wouldn't have my throwers doing anything along those extra pitches until they had pinpoint accuracy. They could change speed and change location at will. Fastball and changeup, yeah. Is it going to be tough on the arm? Of course, because we're not meant to be throwing overhead. There's a reason why baseball pitchers wait every 5 days versus a softball pitcher
also,
that can throw
right,
daily.
You'll know this, right? You'll know this. Mm-hmm. I learned this because my dad was a pitching coach. Mm-hmm. So your tendons don't go this way. Your tendons go this way. It's an unnatural motion. Your tendons go on the softball way.
It's a much easier,
that's the
way easier.
Right, but yes, and originally, but we throw overhand and eventually conform to that.
Right. It's an unnatural motion. It requires an unnatural amount of range of motion to be good at it.
So and stress on your body.
Right. So you need to force the arm into unnatural ranges.
Right.
And then now you're doing it at 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. You're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds of force on a joint that was not meant to have that.
Now you're doing it with that force, right? With a guy who's 6'2", 200 pounds.
Right. Baseball players look like football players.
Yeah, not Greg Maddux, who look like,
show somebody.
Who, first of all, I think he holds the record, and I'm not going to say sure, but I'm pretty sure. 78 pitches in a complete game.
Amazing.
78 pitches.
Well, he also pitched to contact, right? So
yeah. So, but so with all of this being said, you got to be seeing a lot of this coming in.
I do. And in a lot of ways, it is upsetting to me because I think a lot of it is preventable. I think baseball for me is the sport where parents are more specialized. I don't see too many youth football players that are super specialized. And I think football is one of those sports where you can start later in life and still be pretty good at.
Yeah, if you're bigger, you're physical, you're stronger.
If you're willing to be a crazy person out there, because say it like it is.
You're aggressive.
Right.
You're faster, right?
Right. I see the baseball parent as the parent that when they're not playing in this league, they're playing in this league, and they're playing in this league, and they're doing throwing camp, and they're doing skills, and they're doing this. But what they're not doing is letting their kids' joints heal. They're not letting the tendons get stronger. That takes time. Physical maturity, and I always see it like that. I would say 11 to 14 range for me is the scariest because your kids. Oh, he's getting good. Let's make him get better. Now he's going to do this camp, and he's going to do this.
His body's changing.
His growth plates are open. His muscles are stretching. So as your growth plates open, right, your muscles are stretching too. Right? So if now you have a tissue that's now elongated, and now you're putting a ton of force through it, that's probably not the best idea. We have to let those tissues get stronger. Tendons don't get as strong as muscles do as quickly. So if we get that, and you progress them a little on the slower side, I think that you'll get to the end a little bit faster. You're not going to have the tendinitises. You're not going to have the epiphysitis. You're not going to have the overuse type injuries, or certainly fewer of them.
So, growing up, and I'm sure when you played sports, first thing you did, you got to the field, stretch out. However, whoever it was.
Yeah, it was some half-ass stretching
effort. It was Johnny's father, but he really did. The guy was a plumber. What the hell did he know?
Right, you did some toe touches. You got out there and play.
What, from your aspect, professional aspect, now you're seeing this, how do we prevent this in athletes? What is there a single pro forma of stretching
I don't
that
think so.
applies.
No, I
So
don't
it's
think so.
different for everybody.
It's different for everyone. Every sport has its own demands. And there needs to be, not just muscular flexibility, but muscular strength within those ranges of motion that you obtain via stretching. So there needs to be a balance of strength and stability. So
How
stability
important
comes
is that for an athlete now before they go on the
paramount.
field?
Paramount.
So off
Paramount.
the top of your head, without
Mm-hmm.
being what are you assessing time wise for an athlete as part of his routine to do this? Like, is it 10 minutes? Is it 20? Is it a half hour? Is it what do you allot for it as an athlete?
It depends on the type of injury they're coming in for. Usually I get a heads up. Oh, this is a trauma. This is a shoulder traumatic injury. This is an exploded knee on turf. One of those things. So, something like that, I'll definitely you have to allot a little bit more time for it to identify what's going on and if appropriate referral needs to be made out for further intervention. But really, it comes down to understanding what's going on inside the athlete, physically, mentally, the demands of their sport, and the mechanism of injury. Like I don't think there's any trick or anything along those lines. It's listening. You have to listen and be able to take what you heard while listening, and apply it to all of those other factors I just described.
But going forward, once you get them the best that you can get them and get them up and playing, what recommended protocols are you making after that? And I know it changes for every injury.
It does.
Let's say for a shoulder injury, let's say a baseball player who had a shoulder injury that you had a rehab. What kind of protocol are you recommending after that?
Well, so if they have a labrum versus a cuff, whether it's a slap or Bankart, or which one of the muscles, the rotator cuff, are torn, it's all they could all potentially be vastly different.
One thing too was, like, not to cut you off.
Yeah,
it was rotacuffs for years, right? Now we're starting to see labrums and how is that?
I think the diagnostics are better.
Diagnostics are better.
I think the diagnostics are better.
So
yeah, because not everybody's getting scans. Back in the day, it was, you got rotator cuff tendonitis, and the doctor handed you Vioxx. Remember when Vioxx was on the market? They gave you Vioxx or told you to take ibuprofen for 2 weeks, and then you went back out there, right? I think the diagnostic tools and up here is better than it was. I don't necessarily think there are fewer labrum injury or more labrum injuries. I think it's our ability to deduce the correct, to make the correct diagnosis is getting better.
Yeah.
I would say, because baseball throwing is baseball throwing, football throwing is football throwing. The difference is, are they doing it year round? What is their strengthening like? What is all this? I think that's
what are the genetics like?
What are their number one? Is the genetic potential in your ability, your ability to heal. That's, what mom and dad gave you. That's when you see a high level athlete, you really truly get to see how different they really are than the rest of us. How fast they can recover from a very serious injury.
Yeah, and
it makes I had a guy in the office, I still do. He had a grisly shoulder injury. Just disgusting. Muscles ripped off the bone, labrum ripped off the bone. He's a retired professional baseball player. He's 75 years old. He is still getting better like this, faster than kids half his age. And he goes, well, I'm doing great because I'm putting in the work. I said, you are putting in the work, but you're still different.
The genetics are
You're different. You have a different coding that allows you to heal. I can't play in the big leagues. Yeah, I could throw a baseball, but can I throw a baseball, in the MLB? Of course not. That's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of the population can do that. And they're all just like you. All those people have that crazy genetic potential that we don't have.
You talk about genetic potential. I read a story about Kobe Bryant when he got hurt in one of the...
When he blew his Achilles?
He didn't blow the ankle.
Oh, the ankle.
And they didn't think he was going to play.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a sports doctor out of Chicago. I'd have to look his name up. That he had dealt with years, and also did more positive reinforcement. Well, long story short, Kobe flies in at 3:00 in the morning. It's a day off before the next game, and nobody thought he was going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't barely walk,
Mm-hmm.
and they got him. And I think it was either Game 6 or Game 7,
got him
and they
ready.
won. And they're talking about a guy that was going to be out, but if you get a chance and you Google it, you
I
read
will.
the story. It's a
For
great.
sure. I love stories like that.
It's a great story.
He's also Kobe Bryant.
It was Kobe
And we
Bryant.
also don't know what else happened. I mean,
Yeah.
he probably got a Toradol shot. There's
There's
other pharma.
there's a lot of ways that could have brought him to, to that level,
right.
But
still, he's
to
different.
Get there, right?
He's different from the rest of the guys that he played with, let alone us. So
Right.
think about that.
So you're working a lot now with the hockey team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
with
love him.
Danbury.
I love it. Yeah.
What are you seeing with them? A lot of the stuff, and look, great young players over there. They're out there busting their ass.
They
And,
play hard.
Trying to get to the next level for themselves. What are you seeing?
I see a lot of wear and tear injuries with them.
Is it because they weren't treated before, or is it just part of they're grinding so hard right now?
I think it's the grinds, especially with some of the younger players. I'm not sure, they play, what do they play? 80 games, 60 games, something like that. I don't know if they're used to playing that many games, especially the kids that are, college kids or the 18, 19-year-olds that are coming up. They're also playing with men.
Right.
They're playing with 25-year-olds that are eating and lifting weights all the time. They're not playing with playing hockey with an 18-year-old freshman that might be a little undersized.
Yeah. Sort of like our last NCAA game, Indiana and Miami last week. Average age on Indiana was 24 years old.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Youngest player on Miami was 17.
Yeah.
7-year difference. That's a big difference.
Especially at that level for a man.
Yeah.
That strength level is...
Well, and you have the best of the best. Best nutrition, best conditioning, best rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is right there for you. That's all you're doing.
Yeah. So that's the key. Maybe that's the key to success in collegiate sports now is get a bunch of men to beat up on kids.
Well, it's a machine, right?
It
machine.
is.
Come on, look, you have a great facility. Look at some of these facilities.
They're better than professional facilities, some of them. Like Alabama's football facility is out of this world.
Yeah, I had a friend that played for Alabama, actually worked for me for a long time, and he said it's ridiculous.
It's got to be.
It's ridiculous. The football team has their own place that they eat, your nutrition. As soon as you walk, when you go there, right, you're assessed.
Mm-hmm.
So they have whatever it is, okay? You walk in,
Here's
whatever.
your diet.
Your diet. This is it. Your protein shake, what you're eating, everything is. But, you're living the life. That's what you do.
Yeah, they're living a professional life in
That's
college.
what you do. But give me an example of somebody you had to really, and you don't have to go into name or the sport or anything else, that was sort of a quick turnaround to get them back out there as an athlete. Sort of like a success story that you know.
We've had.
A challenge where you like, hey, he's got to be whatever sport he's playing or everything that you guys got him back.
You know what? I absolutely, as a kid, I was I loved football. I worshipped football, and it was seasonal, right? What we did. But as I've gotten older, being more involved with the hockey players and whatnot, I think what that makes that sport so unique is there aren't any of those, right? And here's what I'll say is they play so many games that they're constantly hurt. They're constantly beat up. They're constantly fighting recovery. I mean, just because they're playing 2 games a week doesn't mean they're not practicing every day. And the demands of that sport are out of this world.
Well, it's 12 years at it. It's seasonal for us to watch.
Right.
Whereas
not for
years
them.
ago, this football season ended. Guys did. Football's 12 months a year for these guys. It's every day. It's a lifestyle now.
I love getting the guy on the ice for weeks at a time. It's not, can I get him in for Sunday? And then he's got a week.
Right.
I need to get him ready for Friday night's game and Saturday night's game. Not just, one and then he can be off. How can I maintain what I did during the week to this gentleman for Friday and then a quick turnaround for the next day? It's a very unique set of circumstances that you don't see in a lot of other sports. I mean, baseball you do and whatnot, but baseball's not ice hockey. The injuries in baseball are not ice hockey injuries.
Right.
So I would say that. I don't know if I have one instance. My players get better, period. But it's how long can I keep them better? How long can I let them continue to help them chase the dream? Because I also don't want them being overtreated either, or have to have a stack of medical records, because those medical records will potentially follow those guys to the next city.
Yeah.
So I want to do enough to get this guy to play as best he possibly can as often as possible without missing time. That's the challenge, and that's what I love. And it's a very unique challenge that, from a clinical perspective and from what I am as a professional, is almost intoxicating. It's how can I do this? Understanding that unique healing process, and what do I have to do to get this guy out there to face a beating 2 days in a row? It may not seem like a big deal, but it is a very big deal to have 2 games back to back.
But listen,
I would say that's
it.
Yeah, that's it for me. That's just like getting the plumber back to work to do what he needs to do to feed his family.
Yeah. Now you guys are expanding.
Yeah, so
tell us a little bit about that.
So this last week I purchased a facility in Somers, New York. It's called Aeon Physical Therapy. I purchased it from a gentleman named Phil DeMays. He's been there for upwards of 40 years and has built a wonderful facility that serves that community and some of the others around. When I went in the first time, I felt like it was just, I need this.
Yeah.
I originally went in there to talk to him about some business ideas. I've known him for years, and we've bounced business ideas off of each other and back office, tedium that we unfortunately have to deal with as providers. I was like, I love this. I need this place. I mentioned to him, I said, Phil, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And I'd love to carry the flag. And, by the grace of God, I did it. We're here. And so we're going to take some of the principles that we've developed here in Danbury and bring it over to Somers and mesh that with, what his culture.
His culture, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very excited about it. It's a wonderful place. I met a lot of the people in town, some of the other business owners, and it was when we signed the paperwork last week, I sat there and it was like, it was a very humbling experience that a man who built this place for 40 years.
Something to be said about that.
Right. Who could have sold it to somebody else, said, here, I believe that you're going to, because at that point it becomes your child. Danbury is not my office. Danbury is my child.
Yeah.
It's part of my blood, it's part of my DNA, just like that place is now. And it was his. So it's what can I do to put my stamp on something that he created? And I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? He did all the heavy lifting and the blocking and tackling.
Without a doubt.
He built the base of the pyramid. So, like, you know what? It's like us. If we look at a fighter and a fighter comes to us and he's had a good, start, good fun foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we don't want to change it too much. We want to make it better.
Right.
How do we make it better without changing the recipe so much?
Right. And luckily enough, I have, I have experience doing that in Danbury. I was I had some partnership shares for about a decade. And in 2023, I purchased the business from Lee. He's still an employee in the office and still sees a ton of patients and still highly involved in the community. But in the same respect, what I was talking about with the other gentleman is, okay, you're talking about somebody who's enormously popular in the community, who's done a lot of great things for the community, who is involved in literally everything that there is to be involved in here. How can I continue that and expand on it?
Yeah.
So I got to learn that with this office, and I'm going to try to take those principles. He was a strong leader to another facility with another very strong leader and somebody who's been in that community for a very long time. So it's not And prior to that, I started other offices from scratch and whatnot too. So I do have I've seen both, starting from zero and then starting from somebody else.
So you know how to take the blueprint and make it better.
Yeah, I would say so. At this point, I'm going to call it the Eric effect.
Yeah.
What can I do to take what's already great and make it a little bit better?
Yeah.
It's kind of,
I like that.
Make therapy great again.
Yeah. What do you see for the future of what you're doing in the field of, rehab and recovery?
I hope there's still growth. I think there are still opportunities out there to get bigger.
From where I sit at 10,000 feet and read and look, not being in the trenches like you, but I do look and I read and I have to have some idea what to tell an athlete if something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we going to go with?
Yeah.
And there's that trust factor, right?
Of course.
I don't want Joe Schlepp the midget getting somebody ready. I need, sometimes we need answers quick. Sometimes we need a plan. There's a lot of stuff happening. I see a lot of cutting edge stuff. I think it's just kind of what is applicable and what is not.
Right.
Like you said earlier, what is reality and what is not reality of this thing? I think there's a lot of good technology out there, which is being utilized not only from coaching, but in medicine.
Yeah, now stem cells are super popular, and you have athletes traveling all over the world to get that. You said earlier, peptides, like that's getting enormously popular now.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky to be living in this time as far as healthcare goes, because we are doing some things, and the scientists and doctors and rehab, anybody, they're developing very, very
a lot of
cutting edge and high end treatment stuff that's going to be available to everybody that will benefit all of us. I think we're lucky, nobody's dying of consumption anymore like they did 100 years ago.
Well, people want to live longer too.
Mm-hmm. And they're living longer better.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Mm-hmm. You want to live longer better.
Right. I don't want to live a long time poorly.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
Right? Push me off the cliff. I tell my kids at that point, right
off a bridge.
It's okay, right? Or put the pillow over my head and just say, he fell asleep. I don't care.
Exactly.
But as much as I can, I want to live a better quality of life. And I think there's a lot to be said like that. And, from your standpoint, you're an educator, you're in the community now, and it's an asset. I know from our aspect to have somebody like you on our team and of course, Dr. Lee too. But it's just, to say, okay, call somebody up and say, look, this is what we got. And then we can sit down and come up with a plan of what it is.
And again, I have to refer back. It's my team. I'll give everybody the credit. It's myself, it's Lee, it's Rob, it's Karen, it's Ashley, it's Lucas, it's Sandy, it's Michelle, it's all of us. And the way that you work together and the way that everyone can take a piece from that person. You never know, like the athlete, the boxer, the whoever could say something to one of the girls at the front that they didn't tell me, and they could come up to me and say, hey, this one said this and they said this, and that could be an integral piece to the puzzle. It's listening to everyone who is in contact with that person to create the most comprehensive plan that there is.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Like we talked about a little bit before is that, look, at the end of the day, right, whatever it is you're doing, like for me, building the fighter, it's not about me.
Right. You're building somebody else, right?
It's not about me, right? I'm just a piece of the puzzle. It's the athlete, right? We're here for the athlete, whether it's a fighter, a baseball player,
we're
whatever.
Like the pit crew.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if I don't tighten up the lug nuts, or I tighten them too hard,
done.
Right. Like I always ask fighters, after they come back, what do you see? And I had one fighter who looked at me and he was like, I'm like, it's not a fucking trick question. Because I need to know what you see through your eyes in a fight sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I need to know, because my eyes see something differently. And if we worked on something and it's like, it's not there, you need to tell me, I can't do that with this guy right now.
Exactly.
Okay, so we could adjust.
Right.
or if it's not me, like I've been in corners where I've been the lead, and the fighter has, heard the assistant coach in the corner, and I'm like, take him home.
Right.
He's hearing you. He's not hearing me.
Right.
Take him home.
One voice.
Yeah. Like no ego. Like I just want the W.
That's it.
At the end of the day, but you're going to be a busy man.
I hope so.
And we wish you, great success, and hopefully you can come back here again.
Anytime.
And we can talk
I'll be here
a little
anytime.
bit more as you now take on more responsibility.
Another responsibility.
And then, but tell everybody where we can find you on social media. And, I don't know if you're to that point where you're putting it all out there.
Yeah.
I see a little bit that you're out there now.
Yep.
More so than ever.
We've tried to do more of a social media influence. I got to thank Sandy for that. She's running,
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very hard.
Look, you're running.
She's doing an amazing job with it. And
we talked about this. It's hard. It's a full time. You got to have, it's a lot of stuff going up.
It's constant. Are you posting? Are you doing this? Are you responding to people?
Yeah.
And then, redoing our website too on top of that. So now we're going to try to integrate the second facility into this. So how are we going to mesh those together? But, yeah, that's well above me. So I'm glad that she's handling that and doing a very beautiful job with it. But yeah, you can find me at Hat City Physical Therapy here in Danbury, and effective
Federal Road.
46 Federal Road, and then over in Somers, New York, AON Physical Therapy.
When are you live there?
I'll be starting there mid-February, but the office is mine now, so we're in the transition phase.
You're moving, a lot of back
There's
stuff.
a lot of back office.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that you got it throughout. But Eric, we really appreciate you coming out here. And look, I can't. This is from a personal aspect, okay? Not just because he's sitting here today. I had some serious issues with my back and my shoulder. These were the guys that helped me get through it, and he'll tell you there were days I couldn't even move coming in there. So, you need to speak to him if you got an athlete, if you're a working person or whatever the case may be. They're knowledgeable, friendly people up there at Hat City. They've always been supportive of us at Champs Boxing and anything we've done with our athletes, and I'm really honored.
We've done a lot of work hand in hand together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to do more because, I know you're working with the hockey team now, and that's a little challenging over there too. But
there's enough for everyone, believe me.
Yeah.
And we all love it. All the clinicians love working with the athletes.
Yeah.
Whether you're an MMA fighter, a kickboxer, a hockey player, football player, youth baseball player, we love what we do. It's not like we're slogging through the coal mines. We love what we do.
Well knowledge place, great facility. You got to check it out if you need that type of service, or even just speak to him. Definitely will put you right. But, once again, without the subscribers, we appreciate you. Hit that like and subscribe button. To my guy, Paul at PG Sports, thank you for the gear. And until the next round, train hard, train smart, and we'll see you in the next round on Coach's Corner. Thank you.